the Democrats, in your judgment, be most fiercely resisting?
First, thanks for having me on, Reverend Sharpton. I hope that nobody is shocked watching these picks. If that's the case, then we've been living under a rock. Most of us figured that Donald Trump would do what he's doing now, to a large extent, stack his administration with people from the Project 2025 group. There are 5 of them out of that group right now, not the least of which is the director of the CIA. So I think first and foremost, the first thing is to make sure that to the extent that we can get the nominee for Attorney General on the record through Senate confirmation hearings where they're going to be asked and should be asked tough questions. That's the first thing. I mean, we don't want the Justice Department to turn into the Just ICE Department when it comes to Black and brown people and women in this country. And beyond that, I think it's very important, without telling the Senate how to do its job, that they do their job and not just accept what the president sends over. He has refused to sign the agreement on background checks, which is a violation of federal law. The FBI can't do their background checks, and therefore you could have Senate conferees coming before the committee for confirmation that have real serious issues in their background that we're unaware of. So it's good to keep our eye on all of this. I guess the main thing is not to give up. We've seen this play out before. There were many people who stuck their head under a rock when Tricky Dick, Richard Nixon, was elected, thinking that that was going to be the end of everything. It happened again with Ronald Reagan in 1980. And so this is something that we've got to build coalitions around, work step by step, one goal at another, to get straight for the elections coming up 24 months from now.
Now, the Trump transition team has failed to sign a number of documents designed to expedite the transfer of power. As a result, Trump's cabinet picks are not getting their backgrounds checked by the FBI, which the Senate has traditionally required before confirmation. This weekend, we also learned from the New York Times that Trump is refusing to disclose the donors funding his transition, rejecting an agreement with the Biden administration that would provide federal money for the effort, but with strict fundraising limits. Instead, Trump can raise all the money he wants, including from foreign donors, with no public disclosure. Is there anything Democrats can do and should be doing or can be doing to force Trump to follow the rules during this transition, especially on basic things like background checks and for possible cabinet members?
Yeah, I think the first thing we can do and ought to do is to scream out the truth and to make sure people know what's going on here. Trump's transition team stands to lose $7 million in transition money under the Presidential Transition Act. They don't care. They can easily make that money up somewhere else, if no place else other than Elon Musk. So they're not worried about losing $7 million as long as they can keep secret the information of who's giving, who's donating, and who's pulling the strings. So I think we've got to talk about that. We've got to talk about it loudly. I would hope that the larger press in this country starts doing real stories on that and turning a real light on it, simply for the fact that we need transparency in this transition. And it's really important to look at also what legally can be done. We're in this situation, obviously, now where the Justice Department is going through its own transition. And the question becomes, who will bring charges? I don't know. But I know if we are not loud about this, pointing out the truth, pointing out the law, and making sure other people know, it will be just one more thing that gets glosses over. And in this instance, it runs the risk of having people be in key positions without even having a background check like is happening now.
And that's dangerous. But staying with Trump's appointments, you sit on the House Oversight Committee, where Republicans have announced a new subcommittee to work with Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy as they launch this Department of Government Efficiency to cut what they see as federal waste of all people. MAGA Congresswoman of all people, Marjorie Taylor Greene, has been named chair of the new subcommittee, and she's pledged this morning to include sanctuary cities in this new department's mandate. Take a listen.